Hey friends, welcome back to the show. Today is a part 2 of a 2-part episode, which that was not the plan, but when I started talking on part 1, I decided, you know what, let's just make this a 2-part drill. So here we are, part 2 of how I navigate business and life and what that looks like, and how I really have seen 4 different seasons or 4 different chapters of my business and what that's looked like as the business has evolved. How has that changed my life? I'm coming off of this weird cough. I apologize for that, but I'm also coming off of basically a month out of office, and that was where this episode, or these 2-part episodes, were inspired by. I'd received a ton of messages from people, of course, saying things like, must be nice, but also, how do you do it? What does it look like? What does it actually look like behind your business, behind closed doors, that you're able to take time off and travel so much? And, are you really working? Are you really still making money? Is it just totally flatlined? So that's what this is all about. I want to share with you. So in part 1, which I would encourage you to go back and listen to, I talk all about the first 2 seasons or chapters. Back in 2012, I started this online business thing, not thinking it was going to be anything. And I started it while I was working full-time as an elementary school teacher and part-time as an in-person personal trainer. I was doing it to fulfill something that I felt inside of me that was missing. So you can go listen to that episode, but I talk all about what the season looked like and truthfully what it required from me to make it work, to have this side hustle, and what the hours looked like and how I was navigating the mindset around it. Chapter 2 goes into 2017 when I quit my job as a teacher after almost a decade, and I went all in on this journey of what is now entrepreneurship. At the time, I still didn't even really know what it was, but in the episode, I talk a lot about ego and the path and the decision that I needed to make between, am I going to do this one thing or am I going to do this other thing? And what's driving that decision? And how am I going to make that decision? And again, what did it really look like to build the business to what you see today? So today I want to focus on chapter 3 and chapter 4. Chapter 3 is the ugly stepchild. This is the forgotten child that most people don't know happened, or they don't think about it when they look at someone's business like myself, or even their own. Maybe where you are in your business or your ideation phase, you might not be thinking about chapter 3. So I want to talk about what this looked like for me. So chapter 3 really started in probably 2019. So 2012 starts the whole playing around. 2014, I start to take it more seriously. I hire my first business coach and I join a mastermind. 2015, 16, 17, I quit my job. 2017, 18, it's just exploding. I'm booming. I'm going all in. I'm hustling. I'm grinding. And 2019 is the season or the chapter in which I started to hire. 2019, I started to focus on delegating and outsourcing. Now, let me be clear. At the time, I wasn't doing it to be proactive, like we talked about in the first part of this episode series. I was doing it to be reactive, meaning I was drowning, I couldn't breathe, and I needed help. Now, that is not a good place to hire from, but that is where most of us hire from, especially our first couple of hires, because most of us need to go through the burn, like the sting of the lesson. We have to touch the hot stove before we really believe that it's hot. So you can hear me and you can understand what I'm saying, but you might not actually take action on it until you learn it by yourself. My hope is that you don't have to go through the pain of learning it by yourself, but to each his own, right? So I was in a reactive phase of my business, and that's a good problem to have when it's because you're drowning in leads and client acquisitions and you just have so many clients and you don't know what to do with it, right? And so in 2019, I started this new chapter of starting to delegate, which not only meant paying other people and learning how to hire people and learning how to become a leader, because that's not something that we're actually taught. And I hate to throw shade, but starting an Instagram account doesn't make you a leader, just like it doesn't make you a business owner. They're not the same thing. Being a coach, having a paying client, those things don't make you a leader. Leadership is a skill, it's a practice, it's an art, it's a science, it's a psychology. It's something that you really do have to work on. And for me, I have to work on it every single day. I get to work on it. But it's something that was a rude awakening for me, especially coming from 14, 15, 16 years as a personal trainer, which is a very authoritative role. Almost a decade working as a school teacher, a very authoritative role. And I was a gymnastics coach for 15 years, a very authoritative role, coach, right? So being a coach and being a teacher, I just innately have this authoritative role, which made me feel like a leader. But leadership is not the same thing. So, sidebar, we could talk about leadership in another episode if that's something that you want to get into. But delegating didn't just mean literally hiring people and learning how to do that and paying people. Delegating meant letting go of control. Like, hello, who else here is a little bit of a control freak, a little bit of a type A, a little bit of a perfectionist? I know if you are listening to this podcast, there's a good chance you might have a little bit of that inside of you too. And I say it without shame. I'm a recovering perfectionist. I'm a recovering people pleaser. I'm a recovering type A control freak. Sometimes those are great characteristic traits to have, and sometimes we have them to a fault. And I think we're all a little bit of a blend of the both. So hiring and delegating meant actually learning how to get out of my own way. Because, hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Like Taylor Swift said, I'm the bottleneck in my business. I'm the reason things aren't getting done. I'm the reason that there's miscommunication. I'm the reason that fill in the blank. That is a cold, hard truth about being a leader and being a business owner as you start to scale and hire. Oftentimes, we are mirrors for one another. So oftentimes, what you see in other people that you like or don't like is what you have inside of you that you like or don't like. Oftentimes, what you see happening in your business, or not happening in your business for that matter, is a reflection of what you are doing or not doing, how you are acting or not acting, how you're speaking or not speaking, communicating. So leadership for me, or this new role, this new chapter of delegating, was so much less about learning how to hire and where do I go for these people and how do I write a job description and what do I pay them. And really, truly, it was more about how do I give up control? How do I trust somebody else? Especially when I did start to delegate, I did start to trust other people, and it didn't work out multiple times. How do you not take that personally? How do you have the emotional intelligence to know, was that an attack on you? Were you abandoned? Were you rejected? How are you going to trust somebody else in the future? It has taken years for me to turn so many parts of my business over to where we are today, where so many people on the team have access to everything. They're making decisions without me, which is amazing, but it's taken years to get here. They've got their hands in my calendar, my social media, they're in my email accounts. That's a really difficult thing for most of us to do, especially when we think and feel, and this was me for a really long time, that I'll just do it faster, or I can do it better. It's fine. I'll just do it. I could do it faster. I could do it better. You know what? Don't worry about it. I could do it faster. I could do it better. That is not going to get you very far. That is going to get you right to burnout. And that's going to get you right to exhaustedville. That's going to get you right to resentmentville. And so it's taken years for me to be where I am today. Most of that meaning the internal personal work that I had to do, the releasing, the letting go, the being okay with, if I delegate this thing, knowing there is the reality that it might not get done in the way that I want it to exactly. It might not be exactly how I have it in my head. It might not be perfect or on the timeline that I want it. But is it true that 80% done would be 100%, would be better than 100% better? Excuse me. Could it be true that 80% done is better than 100% not done because I don't have the time to do it, or 100% not done because I keep procrastinating and prioritizing other things over it, or 100% it's done but now I'm burnt out. It's done but now I'm exhausted. It's done but now I need 2 days off because I actually got myself sick. So could it be true that maybe something 70, 80, 90% complete is better than not doing it at all, or doing it with resentment, or doing it and then being stressed out and your hair falling out, or you're gaining weight and you're constantly inflamed and your cortisol's through the roof and you're not sleeping at night and you're fighting with your spouse? I mean, I could go on and on and on. So chapter 3 for me, no matter how I got there, reactive or proactive, I got there. And there was starting to bring people in to help me and delegate and hire, and also sit again at a fork in the road of, is this something that I actually want? Because a lot of times, especially in the online space and entrepreneurial world with digital marketing and coaches, we see what other people have and we just assume that that's the next step. Well, they have a membership, I have to have a membership. Well, they do high ticket, so I have to do high ticket. Well, they're hosting a mastermind, so I have to host a mastermind. She does a retreat, I should do a retreat. They're doing an event, I should do an event. They have a podcast, I should have a podcast. But that's not true. It doesn't have to be true. So for me, I had to sit at this fork in the road and say, hold on, do I actually want to have a team? Do I want to be a leader? Do I want to blow the business up to a place where I would need a team, where I can support a team, or where the business could support a team, I should say, financially? Do I want to be thinking about these things? Do I want to be in a place where maybe I could help more people and make more money, but also now I'm hosting team meetings and I'm doing different things in the business? And it took me a pretty good, I'd say a year of trial and error and testing and sticking my foot in, my toe in the water to see, is this actually something that I want? And I'm always vulnerable and honest with you. I didn't know for a long time if it was what I wanted. There have been so many times, especially years ago, where I would stop to pause and say, I think I just want to do this it's easier. It felt easier by myself. I could move faster by myself. I didn't have to worry about other people's feelings. I didn't have to worry about other people's opinions on the team. I didn't have to rely on anybody else. Like if I were late on a call, it was me that was late and I couldn't blame anybody else. If a client or a customer was unhappy, it was mine to deal with and only mine, right? As opposed to they didn't like the way that they were treated by one of our coaches, or they had an uncomfortable situation with a coach. Or how about the flip side of the coin? Somebody has the best experience ever and they're obsessed with the program, they're obsessed with the coach, and they love it, and they can't speak highly enough about the coach, but the coach isn't me. It's one of my coaches on my team. What about that? No one ever talks about that. How does that make you feel? I know for me, that's been something I've had to work through over the years, which again, for me, the significance piece has always been really big. One of my core drivers, I'm sure a lot of you hear, significance, words of affirmation. I love being seen. I love feeling heard. I think we all do. I think all humans do, but certainly a lot of entrepreneurs do too. There's something inside of us. There's the drive to prove, whether you're proving it to yourself or proving it to other people. We have that drive inside of us to be the best, to be a little bit better, to think outside the box, to do things differently, to go against the status quo. And so what I know in myself and with so many conversations with my peers and mentors over the years, I'm talking a decade of conversations, a lot of us have very similar approaches to business. And so how are you going to feel when actually you have a really happy client, but they're really happy because of one of your team members? And what are you going to feel when that client, quote unquote, leaves? You don't own them, but they leave and then they start working with your other person. Or what are you going to do when one of your team members, who's your unicorn team member, they're so incredible at what they do. They see your vision, they got your back, they help you build it, they're amazing, you have an incredible friendship, or relationship that starts to turn into a friendship, and then they leave. Because they decide, wait, I know how to do all this stuff. I want to go do it for myself now. Now, obviously, you're going to be happy for them, and I hope you would support them, but I've been through that multiple times. And if you think for 1 second that there's not a moment, there's not a split second inside of you that starts to question if you're good enough, that doesn't start to compare, that doesn't have limiting beliefs and fear gremlins start to bubble up, and ego start to bubble up, and maybe resentment start to bubble up, you're kidding yourself. Shame on our industry for not talking about this more, because that absolutely happens. It absolutely happens. So in chapter 3 for me, this delegating and this hiring and the letting go of control and the releasing expectations and changing my relationship to expectations and perfectionism and done and good enough and all of these things, I started to build a team. I started to scale a team. But what I want to be clear here is chapter 3 wasn't about working less. I wasn't passing off tasks to little task rabbits. I was changing the hat that I had been wearing. Now, for so many of us, we wear a lot of hats on our day by day. We're the coach, we're the consultant, we're the creator, we're making content, we're doing sales, we're doing marketing, we're writing copy, we're wearing a lot of hats. But when I was at this fork in the road moment in chapter 3, and I stepped into, you know what, I do want to have a team. I want to be able to pay someone's salary. I want to change more lives. And in order for me to be able to do that, I'm going to need support. I want to stretch myself and expand myself and see what it looks like to really be a leader. I don't know that I've truly mastered anything. I'm 39 years old, but I've gotten good at a lot of things. And so for me, it was, there was copy and sales and marketing and coaching and compassion and all these different all these departments inside of my business. But leadership was untapped. And so I came up to this fork in the road in 2019 of starting to hire and delegate, and I could do a whole episode on what that looks like. Just let me know, say the word and I'll do it. But for me, it was like, let's step into the ring now. Let's step into the department of leadership. Let's step into the department of team building and team culture. Let's step into the department of, I'm going to step into a new version of Jess, and I haven't met her yet. And with that means it's going to get sticky and it's going to get uncomfortable. And I don't know how long it's going to be uncomfortable for. It could be a month, it could be a quarter, it could be a year, it could be 3 years. And I'll tell you today, as I'm recording this 2023 episode, I started that in 2019 and it has been bumpy. It's not totally smooth yet. There are ups and downs. And I've learned over the years that every time there's an up, or every time there's a down, I know there's going to be an up on the other side. Every time there's a difficult conversation, I know that I'm growing. Every time that I have to fire someone or somebody quits, I know that I'm only going to be stronger after it. I know that I do deeply believe I have the spiritual side of me, the energetic side of me. You all know that. I do believe that everything is happening for me and everything's happening for a reason. And if people pop out of my company, if clients leave and pop out of my company, it's for the greater good, for me, for the company, for them, for their future. I've learned to get really good at the emotional intelligence piece, and that's what I've really been working on for the last couple of years. I haven't had a choice. I have had a choice. The choice was, do I want to take this path? And once I said yes, I committed to the journey and what that was going to look like. So 2019 really was the start of the evolution of the business. It stopped being about Jess Glazer, and it started being about the digital business evolution. It started to become about our mission. It started to become about empowering other coaches and putting other coaches on pedestals and helping other people and helping more people and empowering my team members and really looking at that. So it wasn't Jess 2019 is going to hire so she could put her feet up and eat bonbons. It was Jess, I'm going to hire and delegate so that I can remove myself from parts of the business that don't need to be me anymore. So I can go expand the business and I can expand myself and step into a new version of myself, which meant that I was going to have to learn a lot of new skills. I could have stayed comfortable. And for me, comfortable was doing the same thing that I had been doing for so many years. Don't forget, gymnastics coach for 15 years, personal trainer, ended up for 18 years. That's almost 2 decades. Teacher for 10 years, almost 10 years. I could keep doing those things. I've been creating content consistently daily since 2012. I could keep doing those things. At the time, that was 7 years of creating content. Blogging and Pinterest and ebooks and Facebook and YouTube and Clubhouse. Snapchat it was, right? I could keep doing all those things and it was working and I was doing well and I was making impact and I was making a lot of money and it was great. But I was ready for something different. So chapter 3 is the ugly stepsister that a lot of people don't talk about. And that's the transition from coach to entrepreneur. That's the transition from being a solopreneur to entrepreneur. That's the transition, which is why I get so frustrated sometimes when people who don't have those teams yet, who aren't running a full business yet, when they'll throw words around, they'll throw things around like, leadership and CEO and all of these things. I get frustrated because I've been through the fire and I've come out the other side and I've been back in the fire and I keep going back into the fire and I know what is required of you in that fire. And it's not for everybody. So if you're listening to this and you're like, wow, that sounds really unappealing, that's okay. You don't have to build a team. You don't have to build a company to sell. You don't need to have a physical product. You don't have to be globally known if you don't want to be. You get to take it as far as you want. But chapter 3 is what brought me to chapter 4, which is what you see today. So 1 was starting it, and it's the cute side hustle, and it's the pockets of the day. Chapter 2 was really the hustle and the grind and going all in. Chapter 3 was the delegating, the outsourcing, the starting to hire, and golly, making more mistakes than you'd ever imagine. I failed more in chapter 3 than I failed in any other chapter. I looked like an idiot. I made more mistakes. I had to say sorry more times than I ever did in any other chapter. Chapter 3 was really messy. Chapter 3 was really bumpy. And it wasn't just 2019. I'm still learning things from chapter 3 today, but for years. And like I said, I could do a whole episode on hiring, but let me also just say, it was hiring before I was ready. It was initially hiring with barters, unpaid internships, partial paid things, scratching each other's back, coming in, tiny little jobs, getting VAs, things overseas, Upwork, Fiverr, then bringing people in, doing trades, then bringing people in, paying a little bit at a time, then bringing people in, growing it. And it wasn't until 2021 that I brought on my first W-2 full-time salaried employee. And man, was that scary. Like, wow, to go from my hourly rate that I was paying and send over your invoice and we'll add it up and figure it out to a W-2 employee with benefits on a full-time salary, more money than I ever made in my job as a professional. That was so scary, and it's been the most rewarding, beautiful thing that I've ever done. It's so incredible what we've been able to build and how many people we help, not just our clients, but our team and all of our contractors, our full-time team, our part-time team. To me, it's incredible and it's so special, but it's not for everybody. But that does bring me to chapter 4. And chapter 4 is what you see today. The must be nice. Retiring Mike from his corporate job in 2020. What does that mean? He didn't retire. He was 37 years old. He just left corporate. He left his job to come work with me to turn it into a family business. I needed the help, and I needed the help in a position that was very similar to the position that he was doing at his previous job at the bank. And so it made sense for us. Let's go all in together. If I'm going to bet on anybody, I might as well bet on myself. The business was doing well. I needed help. I needed to hire. Let's keep it in the family. I don't trust anybody more than I trust him. It just felt really fun. It felt really easy for us to make that decision. Scary, but really easy, because it also meant that on the other side, we would finally have that holistic freedom that we were desiring, which for us is time freedom, location freedom, career freedom, vacation freedom, creative freedom. And by him leaving his 9-to-5 job where he was working in Manhattan, New York City, we had to live around the area. He had to ask for vacation days off. He was only given a certain amount of vacation days per year, right? Like, we were very restricted by the very traditional route of a 9-to-5 job, which is great. The safety and security is amazing. He loved his job. He worked for 11, 12 years to get to the position he was in. He loved his job, and he talks about it all the time. But the compromise of him leaving meant that we could create this life that we really, truly wanted to create. And we ultimately would never really fully be able to have it if he had stayed at that job, because we'd always be tied to the New York metro area. We'd always be tied to when he could take vacations. We'd be tied to how much paternity leave he would get. And so we decided to bet on ourselves, because worst case scenario, which is a story I share all the time, the reason I quit my job in 2017, worst case scenario, he goes back. If they don't take him back, he goes and gets another job. The worst case scenario is so not that bad. And it's not going to happen overnight. If the business stops making money tomorrow, we're not going to be out on the street the next day, thankfully, right? So it's not that bad. Can we remove the ego and do whatever we would need to do, both of us, in order to make ends meet? And when the answer was yes, he left his job. And so the chapter 4 that you see today of the team, of me being able to take out of office time effortlessly, of sales coming in when we're not launching things, is years and years of culmination of doing the internal work, of doing the external work, of having thousands and thousands of client results. Our clients sell our programs for us. We don't even ask them to. It's word of mouth. It's referral. They're talking about it. They're getting results. It's years of trial and error, hundreds of launches. I can't tell you how many times we have clients that will do their first launch. They don't like how it goes, even if they make sales, and then they say it's not working and they quit. Hundreds of launches. I have done hundreds of launches. High ticket, low ticket, evergreen, live, courses, coaching. It doesn't matter. I've done hundreds of launches. And yeah, I've had a couple that didn't go well. I've had a couple silent launches that nobody bought. I've had clients ask for refunds. I've had people drop out of programs. I've had sales pages that didn't convert. I've had emails that nobody clicked on. Hundreds and hundreds. I've put in thousands of reps. I'm not better than you, whoever you are listening. I may have just been doing it longer. I probably have done more reps. Even if we've been doing it the same length of time, I probably have put in more reps, because I have relentlessly and ruthlessly shown up over and over and over consistently for years. For years, over a decade, trying and testing and tweaking and iterating. And when it gets hard, I don't quit. And when it gets uncomfortable, I don't quit. In fact, when it gets uncomfortable, I've learned to lean in. Like when I came to the fork in the road of, well, if I decide to be a leader, I'm going to have to learn a whole new skill set that I haven't done before. That was me raising my hand and signing up for a brand new class. That was me saying, you know what, even though this is outside of my major, I'm going to take that class anyway, and I'm going to learn Swahili. I'm going to learn Arabic. I'm going to go for it. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to get in there and I'm going to figure it out. And if I never use it again, that's okay. I've been collecting tools for years. I've been collecting experiences. I've been collecting data. I always say it, I'm a scientist in my business. It's neutral. It doesn't mean anything about me. When I mix two things together and they make an explosion, I'm going to write that down. This and this together make an explosion. And when I mix two more things together and they don't explode, I'm going to write that down. And I'm going to just take note. I'm going to be present. I'm going to take note of what's working, what's not. Not working as in good or working as in bad. What works, what doesn't. What's getting action and traction, what's not. What's working right now it didn't used to work before. That's so interesting. Let me get curious. Let me pull out my magnifying glass. Let me pull out my microscope. Let me lift up the hood and look underneath and see why that might be. Is this a new trend? Is this a new method? Is this a new way? How has society changed? Our buying behaviors changed? What's going on in the world right now that this is happening this way today, but it didn't used to previously? How have I grown and changed? Who's on the team? How have they grown and changed? And so chapter 4 isn't about me sitting back and taking out of office vacations. Chapter 4 is now we all, you and myself included, are getting to see the machine that I have been building for years. A year ago, this week, as I record this episode, is our 1 year, I hate to call it an anniversary. A year ago this week is our 1 year anniversary of my ectopic pregnancy. So we were pregnant and we've done episodes on this. You can go back and listen. I apologize if this brings anything up for you, but Mike and I had an unexpected ectopic pregnancy where we lost the baby and I lost my right fallopian tube. And this happened in the middle of our launch of our signature program, Empower. And so we used to do 2 times a year, our giant live in studio, huge production, digital business evolution. And this was on day 2 of day 13. I was rushed into the hospital, underwent this surgery, and was basically pulled out of the entire launch mechanism. So 13 days of lives every single day. And on day 2, I had this surgery. Day 3 and day 4, I couldn't even show up. I could not even show my face. Day 5, I came back and I acted as if nobody knew what was going on. We kept the camera above my waist. Underneath, I was wearing pajamas and a diaper. And emotionally, I was a disaster. But I showed up. There were thousands of people. I did this by choice. And the show must go on, right? This was my choice. And I continued and we went through and the team carried everything. I wasn't on meetings. I didn't write emails. I had nothing to do with the launch except showing my face for this live. And when we were done, we had the second biggest launch that the company has ever had. And it was evidence that we had built the machine. Now, I personally would have liked to have seen it in a different lesson, but that's okay. We had been talking about it for so many years. We want to build a machine that makes us money even if we're not there. We want to build a machine that makes us money even if we're all on vacation or God forbid something happens. It doesn't rely on me. It doesn't rely on any one of us. And to see through that awful experience that we built the machine. That's what you're seeing today. So yes, I am able today to take more space than I had before. My calendar is lighter than it's ever been, but a lot of it's by choice. We shut off I think somewhere between $250,000 to $400,000 in revenue. We intentionally shut it off a year ago. I stopped taking one-on-one clients. We shut down one of our programs. We intentionally turned off about $400,000 in revenue by choice because it wasn't aligned with the way that I wanted my life to look like in the season that I'm in. And I had to be okay with that. Or I had to be okay with, can that revenue be made up in a different way? The universe has my back. Maybe that money is going to come from a different place. It's not that I just have to turn it off and be okay with not making that money anymore, but we intentionally shut off hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue in the business so that my calendar could look the way that we were desiring it to look, because we believe that you should build your business around your life, not your life around your business. And so with that, this chapter 4 looks different. I might be in a different place than you are, but here's the thing. The one common thread that has gotten me here, my mentors to where they are, and my peers to where they are, which is a very similar place as me with the machine, has been one thing. Well, 2, doing the work, obviously, but courses, digital courses, online courses, that has been the ticket. That's the bread and butter. That's the thing that you can leverage your knowledge, you can leverage your skill set, you can leverage your time. I'm not trading time for money. I'm not showing up for one-on-one clients. I don't even do them anymore. I don't even take on one-on-ones anymore. And coming from a world of being a personal trainer and a school teacher, right, group fitness instructor and a coach, I came from the world seeing the difference between coaching a team of 10 girls in gymnastics, showing up to a fitness class and coaching 30 people at a time, or showing up at the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning to train one client at 5, one client at 6, one client at 7, one client at 8, and to understand what it felt like to truly be capped. I didn't have any more time, and I couldn't make any more money. I couldn't help any more people, and I couldn't fit anything else in my schedule. I was capped. Group coaching, online courses, those have been the ticket. Those have been the ticket. A course that you can create once and leverage time and time again. Our signature program, Empower, I created it once. I've edited it a lot. I've tweaked it a lot. I created it one time in 2017, and we've run 18 live rounds. We have other people purchasing the course, going through it at their own pace. Thousands of lives have been changed from something that I created one time. I can house one coaching call. I could do one coaching call with 50 people, 20 people, 100 people, and I can impact that many more people in 1 hour of my time with a course, with a coaching program. My team can go in and tweak and iterate one course's messaging, one promise, one offer, one deliverable, one product. Do you understand what that can do for you? What that could do for your life and for your business? I'm all for other offers. I'm not saying you have to do high ticket, low ticket, membership, this, that, or the other. I'm not saying this is the only way. This truly, group courses, online courses and group coaching, it really is the best way. It is absolutely the best way. It's the fastest way for you to make a bigger impact and for you to make a bigger income in less time. And you can do it without paid ads. And you can do it with having a small following. And you can do it starting with 0 people on your email list. Most importantly, you can do it without having to trade your hour for someone else's hour. I know because I have. I know because not only have I've helped thousands of other people do that. So as we talk about this navigating the life and business thing, and we wrap part 2 of this 2-part series, whatever season you're in, if you resonate, maybe you're in between, maybe you're in season 1.5, maybe you're in season 3.5, maybe you're in 4.5, then I give you credit for listening to this because I know what that means. If you're ahead of where I am and you're listening to this, then more people need to listen to you because you get it. Nothing is above you, nothing is beneath you. It's not about who's ahead, it's about us all helping each other. We're all crossing the river of change together. And just because for one moment you're ahead of somebody in the river doesn't mean that in another moment you might not be behind that person. And really what we want is we want to be next to each other, reaching out, holding hands, helping each other across, telling each other to watch out for the slippery rocks, outstretching an arm to help someone, sitting down to take a break when we need. And we're just like Frogger, we're moving across this river, 1 step forward, 2 step back, 3 to the right, 1 to the left, helping each other across. This is the river of change, the river of transformation. The only time that we get to the other side of the river is when we're no longer here. Stop rushing the process. The destination is in the doing. Whatever season, whatever chapter you're in, the destination is in the doing. Find love in the present moment. Find passion where you are right now. I'm all for setting goals, but stop focusing on where you're going and start focusing on where you are right now. So if you're in the full-time job, whether you love it or hate it, and you're doing the side hustle, crazy, stupid idea thing, understand what it might take if you want to leave that one day. If you're in the I just went all in and I'm scared out of my mind and I pulled the safety net and I'm trying to grow my wings on the way down and I'm in the hustle and the grind mode and I'm networking like crazy and I'm putting myself out there and I'm trying and I'm getting rejected left and right, love every second of it because it's making you stronger. If you're in my chapter 3 season of I don't even know how I got here, but here I am and now I need help and I'm starting to scale and delegate and I'm making a lot of mistakes and learning a lot about myself because wow, this is hard, stick with it. Because I promise you it's worth it. And if you're in the chapter 4 season of where I am right now, which is, wow, look at this thing that we've built. How much bigger can we make it? How can we now pour gasoline on the fire and do more of what is working? Then let's celebrate that together because this is an incredible place to be. But let me be clear, it's not a vacation all the time. It's just work in a different location. I appreciate you for being here. I hope you got something out of one of these episodes. It's been fun for me to share the story and the lens of where I'm going and where I came from. And honestly, chapter 5, well, I don't know what that's going to look like. I really don't. We're in a different season right now in our personal life. We're in a different season in our business. And while you see one thing on Instagram, there's obviously the reality behind the scenes and we're always truthful. We're always truthful. We're always vulnerable. But you're seeing a couple minutes of my day on Instagram, a couple minutes of my day on YouTube, or listening to a couple minutes of my day on the podcast. And there's decisions that are being made behind the scenes for my life and for our business. So I don't know what chapter 5 is going to look like, but I'm not rushing to get there. I'm enjoying the present moment with you right now. I appreciate you so much for being here. I appreciate you for hanging in with all of my coughs. And I love and I adore you. And I'm sending you so much love on your journey, because if anybody knows how hard it can be, I get it. It can feel really lonely. And those fear gremlins and those sabotage monsters, they come back in, and those limiting beliefs and the comparison, whew, man, do they come back in. But if you have a solution to a problem, I believe it's your responsibility to share it with the world. Don't rob others the opportunity for transformation. Don't steal from others the opportunity for change because you're feeling a little less than today, because you're uncertain today, because you're worried about something outside of yourself today. It's going to come up. Find yourself a person that you can lean on. Phone a friend. Call it in. Get a mentor. Join a course. Get the roadmap. Success leaves clues. There's no reason that you should be doing your life or your business alone. None. Zero. Period. And if I'm not your gal, maybe I can help you find somebody who is. But we would love to help you over at DBE. All right, if you loved this episode, this 2-part series, it would mean the world to me if you shared it out on social media, tagged me at I am Jessica DeRose. The reason that means so much to me is because then more people see it, more people can listen, and we can change more lives. We also can get really epic guests on the show. The more people that listen to the show, the more downloads that we have, the more ratings and reviews that we have, the people that I can have come on, the guests that I can have come on, just expands into a whole new network of people. And I want to bring you the best people with the best conversations, because I know we already have. Our guests have been incredible so far. I love you so much for listening. As always, cheers to your evolution. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you loved this episode, I invite you to be a part of our ripple effect and share it with a friend. And please, if you feel called, take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review, and I'll be forever grateful. Until next time, cheers to your evolution.